Hey guys, and welcome back to That LP Show. The name of the game is Donkey Kong 64. Last time, we finished off Crystal Caves and used Lanky Kong's new Orangutan ability that we learned there in order to return to Fungi Forest and get his last remaining golden banana from a Wascally Wabbit. Now, before returning to K. Lumsey with the boss key that we earned in Crystal Caves, there's one last thing that I want to take care of here in the area right outside of Fungi Forest, now that we have Chunky Kong's new invisibility ability. Well, that was kind of fun to say. Now, as I've been sitting here rambling, you've probably already noticed that I'm shooting at this upside-down mushroom floating all over the ceiling. And depending on who you are, that might also be a fun thing to say. Pretty simple, pay attention to what color it is and shoot it with the corresponding Kong. At this point of the game, you should be all too familiar with the color coding of the Kongs. Of course, now that it's green, we're switching over to Chunky Kong. And it would be a lot more convenient if he was the last one that we had to do this with, but as you can see, if I could ever shoot it... Come on. There we go, it turned purple, so we're going to be switching over to Tiny Kong now. But the thing that it unlocks is something that we're going to use with Chunky Kong, as you probably already guessed by the fact that I mentioned his invisibility ability. I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head. Gorilla Gon, that's the name of it. I knew it was something alliterative. I had the same problem earlier in the Let's Play where remembering the name of Primate Punch. Anyway, by shooting that mushroom with all 5 Kongs, we did unlock a pad that we can use to activate Gorilla Gon, and as soon as we activate it, it magically causes a K. Rool Battle Arena pad to appear. And here we have Forest Fracas. This will be a 1-minute endurance match between a Critter, a Crossbones, and a Kasplat. And this one makes me wonder how the development team came up with the names of all these different Battle Arena challenges, because you'd think that they're sticking with the theme of the area that you find them in. I mean, aesthetically, nothing really changes. It's just a battle arena, but you'd also think that maybe it's because there's enemies that you fight in that area, but I don't recall running into any critters in Fungi Forest. I know you run into Kasplats, of course, because you run into Kasplats in every world, and you do run into the Crossbones when you switch it to night, but I don't know, maybe you did run into critters and my memory's not working correctly, but I'm pretty sure that we didn't. And it looks like a second Crossbones has started to spawn, but it still doesn't really increase the difficulty very much. Just concentrate on keeping the Kasplat sat down on its butt so it doesn't do a shockwave, and try when you can to build up a shockwave attack of your own. Alright, 8 out of 10 battle crowns acquired. We're nearing the end here, people. This will be the penultimate area of the game that we're headed to in this episode. Let's just go ahead and take this key to K. Lumsey first. And I do want to remind everyone once again that the game developers probably intended you to use Diddy Kong's jetpack to get down from there. It's just, I want to use that trick to save time and conserve on crystal coconuts. Yeah, I know it's technically a glitch and I probably shouldn't be using it, but at least it's not, you know, a way of sequence breaking, because God knows there's plenty of those in this game. In Donkey Kong 64, walls are only a suggestion. At least that's what the speedrunning community says. It seems like with those guys, the buggier games are the better games. Speedrunners, finishing games fast because the development team didn't finish the game at all. You know, no, I shouldn't actually say that, because even the most polished games in the world have flaws, and that's especially apparent with Nintendo 64. So anyway, in case you were wondering why I came in here with Lanky Kong, there is actually a golden banana that we can get here, and we couldn't get it until we got his orangutan ability, if I could ever get in the barrel. So there you go. Now that we have that activated, there's a switch all the way on the other side of the cage, and we don't have much time, so I want to line myself upright to where I can just take a straight shot toward it, because the camera is a little wonky, and I was afraid if I had to turn around, I'd have spent too much time fighting it in order to get this banana in time. But, you know, I don't know, 3 seconds to spare, that wasn't so bad. But still, with this game's camera system, there's times where I just don't want to take any chances, because, you know, it can go all cattywampus on you at the drop of a hat. And in timed sequences, you'll be surprised how many seconds you shave off by having yourself in a position to where you don't have to constantly find the right camera angle to move around. because if I hadn't been facing in the general direction of that golden banana when I hit that switch and had to swing the camera around in order to run forward without running into a wall or the side of the cage to see where I was going, I might not have made it. Okay, so there are a few things to get here before heading into the next area. We have a golden banana for Lanky Kong, but before we can access that, we need to use Chunky Kong to lift this boulder off of his pad here. There we go, now we can switch back to him. Hopefully without falling into the green goop. Thank you, camera, for once again reminding me that you're not on my side. Spoiler alert, the cameraman is the true final boss of the game. No, I'm just kidding, but that would be kind of a odd twist to the end of Super Mario 64, huh? Where it turns out that the Lackey 2 bros that were following you around the whole time, that wasn't a camera that they were pointing at you, it was a sniper scope. And then during the final boss fight, you were forced to fight him in that zoomed-in mode right behind Mario's head because, you know, the boss was your cameraman, but now he's not acting as your cameraman. And it all would have made sense to me back in the day when Super Mario 64 was new, because your cameraman was a Lakitu, one of Bowser's minions, and that game was released before the Paper Mario games were out, so the concept of a character like a Goomba or a Koopa Troopa or a Lakitu joining Mario and being on his side, let alone just, you know, not serving Bowser and being good, was kind of a new concept at the time, because at that point, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars was out for a few months. It was released the same year as the Super Nintendo, at least here in North America. Or not the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64. I mean, Bowser teamed up with Mario in that game, but, you know, he kind of had his own motivations for doing that. He was kind of forced. He wasn't actually being good. Well, I guess that's been in any case where he teamed up with him. But you get what I'm saying. Back then, it was just weird to see a character like Lakitu helping Mario. Made even more confusing by the fact that there were enemy Lakitus. Or Lakitu, however you want to pronounce it. But anyway, we have Searchlight Seek there. You've seen it before, and we actually got Lanky Kong's final golden banana for DK Isles from that one. And it's only episode 27. See, this game's not that long if you know what you're doing. I'll be honest though, when I first played through this and the idea of doing it as a Let's Play crossed my mind, I thought I'd be running up into like the 70s and 80s, because I saw other playlists on YouTube for DK64 Let's Plays that ran that high, but then again, I looked at the dates and they were from way back in the day when YouTube limited people to like 10 to 15 minute videos. And I don't have that problem here, fortunately. Anyway, there's Diddy's red Kasplat. You do need Donkey Kong to open up the cage in order to get to him, so there we go. And we'll immediately be running into collectibles for DK in the next area, so I'm going to hit up this tag barrel and switch back to him, because he's a good one to start with. And it might just be my imagination, but for a game called Donkey Kong 64, we really don't spend a lot of time with Donkey Kong. I mean, he has an even amount of collectibles to everyone else, but he doesn't do anything convoluted. His golden bananas are probably some of the easiest to get in the entire game. Not to mention his boss fights are a joke. And here we have another example of K. Rool being an ineffective leader. So we have this Kasplat who's trying to escape because he's afraid of being punished for his failure. This makes it all the more clear that K. Rool is spying on all of his minions, so he has surveillance systems, but he's using it to spy on his minions to make sure they're not slacking off or failing or whatever, when he could be using that to monitor the process of the Kongs. I mean, according to what this Kasplat said, you know, K. Rool's not all that aware yet that the Kongs are acquiring his blueprints. I guess he's never heard of the phrase, keep your friends close and keep your enemies even closer. Ass backwards priorities, K. Rool. This is why you fail, and that is a big-ass claptrap that, guess what? We are never going to run into it. Anyway, here we are at Creepy Castle, the penultimate area of the game. In fact, it's the last area where we'll be collecting golden bananas, except for the few remaining ones on DK Isle, but that's the main hub world. It doesn't count as an actual level. Anyway, first stop in Creepy Castle is another barrel cannon area, the last one in the game, so it's going to be a little bit tricky. Let's see if I can do this all in one go. And these rings that we're shooting through make a sound each time you go through. Now, when we saw these things in Crystal Caves, it was more of just a guide as to where to shoot, but I think in this one, we actually have to shoot through all of them in order to make the DK shit! Okay, let's try this again. What was I saying? Sorry, this is like my 4th attempt at making that shot. Yeah, the rings. I think in this one, we actually need to shoot through all of them in order to make that DK star appear. I could be wrong, though, but it seems like because they make a chime when you shoot through them, that they do something. Or maybe they just do that to screw with you. Anyway, we skip past the DK star in order to get one of DK's yellow coins, so now we're pretty much going around in another circle again, and there's the DK star. And there we go. And for all the trouble, we unlock we lift up these bars to gain access to the inside of this tree, but we're not going to go in there right now. We'll save that for a little bit later. I just wanted to get it out of the way. For right now, we're going to be following a trail of yellow bananas all the way up toward the top of the tower. Yeah, Creepy Castle is a very vertical stage with a lot of crazy platforming elements like, oh, come on, really? Alright, yeah, like these platforms that... Come on! What? I'm losing my train of thought here because I don't know where the hell I am to that banana because, you know, drop shadows, same old thing that's been plaguing me through the whole game. Yeah, sometimes those platforms going in and out are awkwardly timed and, you know, the lighting in this game and its issues with drop shadows, it makes platforming harder than it used to be, or than it needs to be, I mean. Yeah, probably the biggest issue with this game is you've seen it plague me throughout this entire playthrough. It's not the controls. It's not the controls at all. This game controls absolutely fine. It's just sometimes it's hard to judge distance because of, you know, poor drop shadows. I mean, I can see a drop shadow beneath Donkey Kong right now, but that's not an actual drop shadow. It's just because the light source is directly above me right now. And come on, get up there. I want those crystal coconuts, damn it. We're going to be doing a lot of jetpacking later, and I want to make sure I have tons of crystal coconuts, even though I'll probably run into a banana fairy to refill it all before that point. But, yeah, drop shadows. You know what? I'm getting a little off topic here, but I recently started watching Brain Scratch Com's walkthrough of, or playthrough, or whatever you want to call it, of Sonic Unleashed. And I seem to recall mentioning something about poor drop shadows because of the lighting system in Sonic Unleashed towards the beginning of this playthrough. And they actually mentioned the same thing in their playthrough of Sonic Unleashed. So there you go. It's not just me, and that gives me a little peace of mind. And they actually seemed just as bewildered as I was that a development team would leave something as essential to platforming out of a platforming game. So now I know it's not just me and I'm not completely insane. I'm also not blind. Anyway, back on topic. You probably noticed that the trail of yellow stuff has gone cold, and now we're seeing some purple stuff, so we'll eventually be switching back to Tiny Kong on our descent. But first of all, let's hit up Cranky's lab. And once again, no, I don't want to play Jetpack, but he does have one more potion for us here, and it's the Super Duper Simian Slam. The final version of the Simian Slam, pretty much the same thing, except this one will allow us to hit red switches, and we're going to need this to progress further in this stage. So yeah, for right now, I'm going to be focusing on gathering up all of the Kong's final upgrades in this stage, and yeah, right there, Cranky Kong's given us his last final message there, saying that he has no more potions for us. That is it. We're going to be getting the last of our power-ups from Funky and Candy Kong here as well, and I'm going to be making my initial focus here in Creepy Castle on getting all of those power-ups, because we're going to need to use them in order to get all of or a good deal of the golden bananas in this area. At least in the case with Funky Kong's upgrade, we're definitely going to need that. Candy Kongs we could probably do without. We could probably go through this entire game without getting, you know, most of Candy Kong's upgrades outside of the ones involving health upgrades, but yeah, I'm still going for 101%, so I still gotta get them. And we're passing up the ballroom here, which means that we're coming up on an area where we can get one of Donkey Kong's bananas. I believe it's in the library. I'm not 100% sure. I could be thinking of one of Chunky Kong's. And these platforms here are awkwardly timed, so gotta play the waiting game here for a second. All right. Oh, God. Yeah, that's nerve-wracking, but sometimes you have to jump over to a platform before it comes out, and when you do an attack in mid-air, it gives you a little bit more air time, so you have a few seconds to, you know, you have a few seconds to wait for that platform to come out. I seem to recall using a similar strategy in Champions Road of Super Mario 3D World. You know, with the segment with those rapidly disappearing and reappearing blocks, you want to there's parts where they go so fast that you want to jump up when they're not there, and then do a butt stomp in midair, which causes Mario to hang up in the air for a little while before stomping down. So it gives you a little bit of time, so by the time you start slamming down, the platform's already there. Anyway, I was right. DK's Golden Banana is here in the library. When we first came in, there was two paths that we could take, but the path to the right was a dead end. So we're here right now in order to make that not a dead end. Once we defeated all the enemies in here, a red switch will appear. First example of why we definitely needed to hit up Cranky Kong's upgrade before going after Golden Bananas. Just want to top off on ammo real quick here. And we ran into a new enemy that we didn't run into before. Actually, we did run into it before, but I was too busy rambling on about something completely unrelated to address it. But that was those guys in the sheets playing Ghost. They actually have a very creative name. Critter in a Sheet. Named as such because they are, in fact, a critter in a sheet. I know, right? Pure genius. All jokes aside, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm surprised we didn't run into those enemies in Fungi Forest during the night. At least if we did, I'm not remembering. It's just that we also ran into Crossbones in Fungi Forest, and we have Crossbones here because they fit the whole spooky, scary motif. So you'd think, you know, because we find the critters in a sheet here in a haunted house theme place, you'd find them in a level where we also found the Crossbones. But like I said, they probably were there, and I'm either not remembering, or they're, you know, kind of a rare enemy, and I wasn't in that corner of the stage where they were located. Kind of like we only had one of that one mushroom enemy that I ran into, and I can only remember one occurrence of where we run into that mushroom enemy. I think it's called a mushroom critter, to be honest. But yeah, we only ran into one of them to my recollection in Fungi Forest. So anyway, I believe we are at the top. Almost. We seem to be running out of wood here. There we go. I see Snide's HQ, and there's one last teleport pad activated. Their counterparts are all located in the same area all the way back down. So as soon as we switch over to Tiny Kong, we'll be climbing all the way back down. We'll be going the long way because I want to gather up all those things on the way, but once we get to the bottom, we'll be activating all of the counterports to the teleport pads that we activated on the way up here, and then we'll no longer be making this feel all backtracky. I'm sorry, it seems kind of long-winded right now, but this is, you know, this is where that point comes in where I start to second guess my route. I came up with the most optimized route that I could, but yeah, it's not perfect. But it's not a complete loss. We do gather up a lot of items and a few golden bananas on the way. In fact, before we get all the way down to the bottom, there is a golden banana that we will be getting for Tiny Kong. So that's nice. Like I mentioned in Crystal Caves, when it comes to, you know, routing out my path, one of my biggest fears is that I go through an entire video with no progress. Are you kidding me? I went right through that banana. But anyway, yeah, it's a balancing act. Talk to anybody who makes walkthroughs or Let's Plays, and they'll tell you that You constantly have to keep your eyes shifted back and forth between the screen and the timer, because you want to make good progress in the video, but you don't want the video to be overly long, especially if you spend the good portion of the beginning of that video doing absolutely nothing, and it's like, here, you know, skip to this time if you want to see something actually happen. But I guess that's where editing comes in, because you could always edit out backtracky portions, unless you're playing a game like Metroid, where backtracking is part of the gameplay. Then you just gotta worry about good commentary. Anyway, as we drop in here, this is a rare occasion in which they give us homing ammo to take out all these enemies, yet sometimes, most of the time when they put you in these situations, they lock out your ability to use the musical instrument. They don't do that this time for some reason, so I just went ahead and knocked them all out by playing my saxophone, get them out of the way, but I do want to be quick because I'm pretty sure they respawn, so I'm going to grab up all of this ammo and these purple coins while I can. Shouldn't be too long. I'm sure we have plenty of time, but still, I don't want to waste that time while I have it. As it is, I'm looking at my timer and we're over the 20-minute mark, so I don't think we're going to be getting any more golden bananas for this video. I do want to try to make it all the way back down, but 2 golden bananas isn't so bad. That's a lot of progress. That kind of satisfies my, you know, need to make a video where something happens. Not to mention that we got, you know, a few golden bananas earlier before we even came into Creepy Castle in the first place. But yeah, this initial trudge up and down Creepy Castle is one of the things that I was kind of dreading when it came to recording this stage for a Let's Play, because it seems so long and drawn out. Not a lot happens, but you're still gathering stuff up, so I don't want to cut it out either, because I want to show where all of that stuff is. So it's all falling down on the single hardest part of doing a Let's Play, which is commentary. I'm sitting here worrying, like, what am I going to talk about? And this is where my really bad habit of rambling comes in. Like, I want to talk, but I don't have much to talk about other than the fact that I do enjoy haunted house themed stages. They're one of my favorite tropes in games. You know, I have a very offset taste of level tropes. Like, I like the ones that a lot of other people don't like, and I dislike ones that a lot of people do like. Like, a lot of people like ice stages. I can't stand them. I seem to be standing on solid ground, no pun intended, when it comes to water stages. That was weird. I was kind of just stuck there. But 2 of my personal favorite level tropes are lava stages and haunted house themed stages, and other people probably like those. It's just I don't hear them getting too much praise very often. And let's see. Where do I want to go? I think I want to go through the number 1 warp pad. Yeah, this is where I wanted to be. I'm in the right place. I want to get Tiny Kong's blueprint before moving on to the next area, and this is where it'll be. I just got kind of turned around and forgot where I was going for a second. But yeah, always liked the haunted house themed areas in video games. I think it's the music. I mean, listen to that finger snapping in the background. It's just really catchy. You don't hear that very often in spooky themed music. I think it might be the juxtaposition of creepy and cartoony that I'm enjoying so much. And I guess I have Grant Kirkhope to thank for that, because he seems to be really good with this type of music. Actually, the main theme of this level was meant to be used in Prickly Pear Isle, which is an unused stage in Banjo-Kazooie. Okay, so we got Tiny's blueprint. That's what I came down here for. So since this wouldn't be a proper spooky, scary stage without a graveyard-type area, we'll be heading into the catacombs of Creepy Castle, but that's going to have to wait until next time. And until next time, thank you for watching That LP Show, and have a one that is good.